She wakes before sunrise. The world still quiet around her, the soft rhythm of early morning breathing life into the sky outside her window. She sits for a moment in the stillness, letting the pale light rest upon her face. This is her ritual, her small prayer before the day begins. She takes a breath that feels like hope and thinks of the passengers she will meet, of the skies she will cross, of the calm she must carry within her heart. She ties her hair neatly, each motion slow and deliberate. The way one might prepare for something sacred, her uniform hangs waiting for her, pressed and perfect, a symbol of grace and trust. She slips into it with care like an artist stepping into her canvas. She has always loved this feeling, the quiet before, the noise, the order before the journey. She looks into the mirror and sees a reflection that feels familiar, yet distant, as if a piece of her already belongs to the open sky. She smiles softly, remembering the first time she wore these wings on her. Just the feeling of purpose that filled her that day, and she whispers a gentle promise to herself to keep being kind, to keep being calm, to keep being brave. The kitchen hums faintly as she prepares her tea, the sound of water boiling a reminder that the world is waking alongside her. Her family is still asleep. She moves gently through the house, careful not to disturb them. The walls carry memories of laughter, of childhood, dreams of dinners shared, and quiet evenings spent together. She thinks of her parents, of their sacrifices, of the lessons they taught her about humility and service. She feels them with her in every flight, every time she offers a comforting smile to a nervous traveler, every time she holds her composure when the world feels uncertain. The streets outside glow softly under the newborn sun. The air carries that crisp edge that only morning holds. She steps out with her bag, the city beginning to stir around her, the hum of engines, the distant call of birds. She feels a quiet gratitude that she gets to witness this part of life when everything is still untouched by the rush of the day. She walks with purpose, her footsteps steady, her heart open. She has always believed that kindness is the one thing that never runs out, that giving warmth to others brings warmth back to the soul. The airport, the energy shifts to something lively. The rhythm of travel pulsing through each corridor, faces from everywhere, voices blending into a song of motion. She moves through it all with the ease of someone who belongs here. Greetings from co-workers, smiles exchanged, nods of recognition. The language of people who understand the beauty and the burden of their work. She checks her schedule, confirms her gate, and exchanges a light-hearted joke with another attendant. Laughter ripples softly between them like a moment of sunlight before the clouds as she boards the plane. She feels that familiar sense of peace. The hum of the cabin, the smell of the seats, the muted sounds of preparation. She has always found comfort in these details, each one a thread in the fabric of her purpose. She arranges supplies, ensures everything is in order, and greets each passenger with that same gentle voice that has calmed so many. Over the years, she notices the nervous ones, the tired ones, the ones traveling alone. She offers each of them a piece of her serenity, her steady smile, her understanding eyes. She moves through the aisle with quiet confidence, with grace that seems effortless, but comes from years of discipline and heart. The engines begin to stir, the low vibration filling the air, and for a moment she closes her eyes, feeling the pulse of it beneath her feet. She knows that flying is more than travel. It is trust. It is surrender. It is a promise between sky and soul. She breathes in that truth as if it were the air itself. She glances out the window at the rising light beyond the tarmac, the horizon painted with gold and silver and soft gray, and she thinks how beautiful it is to begin again each morning, how every journey starts the same, with hope in the air and calm in her heart. The voice of the captain echoes gently over the intercom, the usual greetings, the reassurance of familiarity. She listens with quiet pride. This is where she belongs among clouds and strangers and moments that fade as quickly as they come. She straightens her posture, takes one more steadying breath, and feels that invisible line between earth and sky calling. Her upward she is ready, she is calm, she is light. She feels the hum of the engines deepen as the plane lifts gently from the ground, the earth falling away beneath them like a memory. She steadies herself with one hand on the seat, her heart in rhythm with the soft roar that surrounds her. The cabin fills with the quiet murmurs of passengers settling into the sky, the world outside turning bright and endless through the small oval windows. She moves gracefully through the aisle, her steps sure and light, her voice calm and kind as she checks on each traveler, offering water blankets, smiles that carry warmth. She knows that thousands of feet above the world, peace can be fragile, and so she becomes the keeper of calm, her every gesture, a promise that all will be well. The morning sunlight drifts through the windows, painting soft gold across her face. She feels it on her skin and thinks of home, of the people she loves, and the life waiting beyond the clouds. Her mind is still, her heart steady. She has done this countless times yet. Each flight feels like a new beginning, a reminder that she is part of something larger than herself. She exchanges a glance with another attendant, the kind of look that says everything without words, the shared understanding of duty, of quiet strength. Of care. For a while, the journey moves with the familiar rhythm of air travel. The small details, the laughter of a child, the rustle of magazines, the hum of conversation, all of it forming a gentle melody that speaks of ordinary life. She checks the galley, making sure everything is in place. She thinks of how fragile and beautiful this piece is, how easily it can be broken, how precious it is to those who depend on her to keep it alive. She carries that thought like a sacred oath, a devotion, to the people around her, to the unseen hearts who trust her hands. Then something shifts so subtly at first that it barely feels real, a momentary change in tone, a silence that falls without warning. She senses it before she hears it, an instinct that travels through her chest like a shadow. She turns toward the front of the cabin, her eyes searching, her breath still, even as her heart begins to race, a sound from the cockpit, an absence of voices, where there should be laughter, where there should be the familiar pattern of routine. She feels the air tighten, the passengers unaware, still lost in their magazines and quiet dreams. She moves quickly but calmly, her voice low, her steps precise. She calls for her fellow attendants a question. In her eyes, they exchange words that feel heavy, that hang between them like unanswered prayers. She reaches for the interphone, her fingers steady as she tries to contact the pilots. No response. She tries again. No sound, only static and silence. She can hear her own breathing in the space between the sounds, the echo of uncertainty filling her ears. She looks toward the aisle, the passengers still calm, and she knows what she must do. She must be their calm. She must be their anchor in that moment. Her training, her nature, her very soul converge into one quiet decision. She will stay composed no matter what. She will not let fear take her voice. She signals to another attendant to watch the cabin. She moves toward the phone that connects them. To the ground, she dials the number she has dialed so many times before, but this time her hand feels the weight of history, though she does not know it yet. The call connects, and she speaks her words. Careful, clear, measured, she reports what she sees. What she knows, she asks for help, and in her tone there is no panic. Only resolve on the other end. A voice answers, steady, professional, yet laced with disbelief. They ask questions, she gives answers. She becomes their eyes, their witness. She describes the missing contact, the injured crew, the silence from the cockpit, her voice unwavering. She is doing what she was born to do. She is protecting others through calm, through clarity, through courage. She does not raise her voice. She does not cry out. She simply continues speaking, as if the act of speaking itself keeps the world from falling apart. The minutes pass like shadows lengthening in the light. Her voice remains constant, the anchor between the chaos above and the confusion below. She does not know that her call will become one of the most important of that day. She does not know that people listening to her words will later call her a hero. She only knows that she is doing her duty, that she is living her truth, that she will not let fear break the chain of care that binds her to every soul aboard. As the plane continues its path, she looks around the cabin at faces filled with questions and trust. She feels the enormity of their silence pressing on her chest, and yet she stands tall. Her calm like a quiet shield against the storm that she cannot see but can already feel approaching. She closes her eyes for a moment, just long enough to gather the strength to keep going, to keep guiding, to keep believing that, even in the darkest sky, there is still light. She keeps her voice steady as the world around her begins to tilt toward the unknown. She holds the phone to her ear, the soft hum of the connection. The only thread that ties her to the world beyond this cabin. Her words flow slow and careful, her tone a calm sea under a storm. She reports what she knows, what she sees, what she feels. She tells them. The pilots are not answering. She tells them someone has been hurt. She tells them they cannot get into the cockpit. Each word she speaks becomes a light in the darkness, a signal to those who listen that something terrible is happening, but that she is there, that she will not let silence be the only sound left in the air. The person on the other end listens, their questions short and urgent. She answers them all with precision, with grace, with courage that does not waver. She knows that her words are being heard by those who can act, that her calm can save lives. She has no way of knowing that this call will become one of the first true windows into the chaos of that morning. Yet even if she did, she would not think of herself as a hero. She would think only of the task in front of her, of the people who trust her, of the promise she made to always be steady. Her fellow attendants move quietly around her. They know something is terribly wrong, but they follow her lead. Her stillness becomes their guide. She tells them to comfort the passengers, to keep them calm, to keep the fear from spreading like wildfire. She knows that panic is a contagion, and that her job now is to contain it through strength, through compassion, through the power of her voice. She keeps talking, her tone never rising her breath, even her words gentle like a hand resting on a trembling shoulder. The call continues minute after minute. She gives seat numbers, details, descriptions, all the information that can help those below understand what is unfolding above. She does not stop. She cannot stop, because the act of speaking is the only control she has. Left, she clings to it like a lifeline, knowing that her calm might be the difference between chaos and clarity. Her training tells her to remain composed. Her heart tells her to remain kind. And so she does both with unwavering resolve. Outside the windows, the world glows with morning light, indifferent to the fear inside the plane. She looks at the sky, at the streaks of cloud and sunlight, and for a brief moment she thinks of home, of her parents, of her siblings, of all the mornings she has promised to return safely. She allows herself a single breath of that memory before returning fully to the present, where her voice is needed more than anything. She focuses on the words, on the sound of her own calm echoing through the receiver. She imagines that somewhere on the ground someone is writing them down. Someone is preparing to act. Someone will know what to do. The voice on the other end tells her to stay on the line, to keep speaking. And she does her tone, unwavering her focus. Absolute. The minutes stretch like hours each second, carrying the weight of unspoken fears. She does not allow those fears to surface. She keeps them buried beneath duty, beneath love, beneath the quiet certainty that this is who she is. This is what she was meant to do. She was meant to be the calm in the storm, the voice that cuts through confusion, the light that flickers but never fades, as the situation grows more desperate. She feels the tremor in her own hands, but she hides it. She straightens. Her posture takes another slow breath and continues her report. Her composure is not born of denial, but of courage, of understanding that to show fear now would be to surrender hope, and she refuses to do that. She will hold hope until the very end, even if that end is closer than she dares to imagine. On the ground, the people listening to her voice begin to understand the gravity of what she is saying. They begin to grasp that this is no ordinary emergency, that her calm is masking something unimaginable. They work quickly, their voices firm yet touched with disbelief. They ask her to stay connected, to keep relaying every detail she can. She nods even though they cannot see her. She agrees with a quiet, "Yes, that carries the weight of everything." She cannot say in the cabin. The air feels heavy. Passengers start to sense that something is wrong. Whispers spreading like ripples in still water. She meets their eyes one by one, offering the same steady smile, the same silent assurance that everything will be all right, even as a part of her knows that it may not be. She cannot let them see the truth. She can only let them see her courage. Her call becomes more than a conversation. It becomes a testimony to the strength of the human spirit, to the power of calm in the face of chaos. She speaks for those who cannot. She becomes the voice of reason in a moment when reason is slipping away. Her words travel miles through wires and airwaves, reaching ears that will later remember her name as the one who stayed composed, as the one who gave them time, as the one who showed the world that bravery does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers through a trembling voice that refuses to break. And as she continues to speak, as the minutes pass, she feels a strange peace settle inside her. A quiet acceptance that whatever happens, she has done what she could. She has served. She has cared. She has fulfilled the promise she made every morning when she put on her uniform to bring calm to those who need it most. She holds the phone a little tighter, closes her eyes for the briefest moment, and lets the sound of her own steady voice carry her forward into whatever comes next. She feels the cabin grow quieter, the air thick with something unseen, the light outside still bright, but inside, everything feels slower, heavier, as if time itself has begun to hesitate. She does not stop speaking. Her words are still clear, still, gentle, her tone steady, though her heart knows the truth. She keeps her composure because she must, because the people around her draw strength from her calm. She can sense their fear in their eyes, their posture, their breaths quickening. And she meets each glance with warmth, with steadiness, with a courage that asks for nothing in return. The phone rests against her ear. The connection still open, the voice on the other end, still there asking questions, offering words. She clings to that faint sound, as though it were an anchor in an endless sea. She tells them what she can, what she sees, what she feels. Her voice becomes softer now, but not weaker. Every word like a thread tying her to the world beyond this small, fragile space she knows she is, being heard, and that knowing gives her purpose. She will not let silence win. She will not let fear drown the sound of compassion. She looks to the aisle and sees a young woman gripping her armrest knuckles. White. Another passenger whispers a prayer. Someone else stares blankly forward, lost in disbelief. She moves toward them. Her steps measured, her voice. Even she tells them to breathe, to stay calm, to hold on. She becomes both guide and guardian, her every motion filled with a serenity that feels almost divine. She touches a shoulder, offers a blanket, a word, a look that says, "You are not alone. You are safe with me," even when she knows safety is slipping further away with every passing second. The plane shifts gently, the change subtle yet heavy. With meaning, she feels it through her feet, through the floor, through the air itself. Her breath catches, but she does not speak. The fear aloud, she keeps her voice calm. She returns to the phone. Her message unchanged, her tone unwavering, her soul unshaken. She tells them she is still there, that she will keep reporting until she cannot. She can hear emotion now in the voices on the other end. People who understand what her steadiness means, who can feel her courage through the static. She can hear them say her name softly, as if to remind her that she is not alone. In her mind, she thinks of her family, of the people she loves, of the mornings, filled with laughter, of the dinners shared, of the promise she always made to return. She sees their faces in the stillness between her words, and she feels a warmth that steadies her further. She knows they would want her to do what she is doing, to remain who she has always been. Kind, calm, brave. She holds that truth in her chest like a light against the dark. The moments begin to blend together, time losing its edges. She continues to speak her voice. Now the only constant sound, she feels the vibrations beneath her feet change, the subtle difference in the air pressure. She does not flinch. She simply breathes. She focuses on the calm she carries within her, as if it were the last gift she can give to the world. She has always believed that courage is not about defying fear, but about standing steady in the middle of it. And now she is living that belief with every breath. The attendants around her watch in quiet reverence. She has become their compass, their center. They follow her lead, keeping the passengers as calm as possible, whispering reassurances, moving with purpose through uncertainty. She sees the fear in their eyes and meets it with a nod, a look that says, "We will face this together." They draw strength from that look, from her presence, from the grace that never leaves her. The phone still pressed to her ear. She hears faint sounds, words lost to distance. She tells them she will stay on the line. She will keep speaking. She wants them to know everything. She wants to help. She wants to give them time. She wants to make sure that her final act is one of service. She does not know that people far away are listening to her voice with tears in their eyes, that her calm will later be remembered as one of the bravest acts of that day. She knows only that she must not stop. She must not falter. She must not let the fear of the unknown silence. The strength of the human heart, she closes her eyes for a heartbeat, and in that stillness she feels the world hold its breath. She thinks of the sky that she has always loved, the clouds, the sun, the quiet above the noise of the earth. She thinks how strange it is that even now there is beauty in the light streaming through the windows, that even in fear there is grace, that even in uncertainty there is meaning. She whispers one last message into the phone, her voice soft as wind. She thanks them for staying with her, for listening, for believing. And then she turns her gaze toward the light outside the window, that endless horizon that she has always trusted. And in that final quiet moment, she feels no panic, only peace. She has done what she could. She has given everything she had. She has lived her promise. She has served with compassion and courage, and though the world may soon fall into silence, her voice will remain carried through time as a testament to the power of calm, to the strength of kindness, to the truth that even in our final moments we can choose to be light. She is gone now. Yet her voice still echoes across the years, carried through recordings and memories, through the hearts of those who heard her speak on that morning that changed the world. Her name lives not only in history, but in the quiet corners of gratitude, in the faces of those who learned that bravery can sound like calm, that courage can be a whisper instead of a shout, that love can take the form of steady words in a moment when the world breaks. On the ground, the people who heard her remember the tone of her voice, how clear it was, how steady, how full of care. They remember how even as fear took shape in the sky, she never allowed it to take hold of her heart. They remember how she gave them the first picture of what was happening, how she guided them through confusion and disbelief. She became their anchor, She gave them time, and in doing so, she gave the world a moment to act. She did not live to see the lives she saved, but her calm made that saving possible. And those who knew her would say that is exactly who she was, a protector, a light in San Francisco. Her family learns of her final act. They cry, they hold each other, they find both pain and pride in the knowledge that their daughter, their sister, their friend faced the unimaginable with grace. They share stories of her kindness, of how she always put others first, of how she carried laughter wherever she went. They remember her as a child, running through the house as a young woman finding her path as an attendant, who saw her job as a calling. They remember her not for how she died, but for how she lived with warmth, with dignity, with quiet joy. Her community gathers and tells her story to the next generation. They speak her name with reverence and tenderness. A recreation center in the heart of her city now carries her name, the Betty Ong Chinese Recreation Center, a place filled with laughter and life and hope, a space where children play, where families gather, where kindness continues to grow. Her legacy becomes something alive, not a memory frozen in sorrow, but a living reminder that even in the darkest times, goodness remains. People visit the center. They see her picture. They read her story. They feel the weight of what she did and the gentleness with which she did it. They understand that heroism does not always wear armor, that sometimes it wears a uniform and a smile, that sometimes it stands quietly and speaks softly, and yet changes everything. Her voice has become a part of the collective. Memory of courage, her calm, a lesson taught in classrooms, her name spoken at ceremonies, her spirit carried in the hearts of those who work to make the world a little kinder. Each year, as the day returns and the world remembers, she is remembered, too. Not only as a victim, but as a symbol of strength, as a woman who faced fear with grace, as a soul who met chaos with peace. Her story travels far beyond her city, beyond her country, across oceans, through languages, because the language of courage needs no translation. Her act becomes an example of what it means to serve, what it means to care, what it means to remain human when the world demands otherwise. Some say her voice still holds power, that when they listen to the recording, they can feel her presence, a calmness that fills the room, a reminder that even in tragedy there is beauty in the human spirit. Her words echo like a prayer, a promise that bravery lives in all of us, waiting to be called upon. She did not choose the moment, but she chose how to meet it. And in that choice, she became eternal. As the film closes, the narration softens to a whisper, telling us that courage is not always seen. It is often heard. It lives in the tone of a voice that refuses to tremble. It lives in the eyes of those who stand steady when everything around them falls. It lives in acts of love that ask for nothing in return. Her story ends not in sorrow but in light, because her calm continues, her courage continues, her love continues, and somewhere, above the clouds where she always felt most at home, the sky opens wide, endless and golden, and the world below remembers her, not just as the woman who called for help, not just as the flight attendant who warned America, but as Betty Ong, the one who stayed calm, the one who cared, the one who showed us all that even when everything falls apart, the human heart can still choose to be brave.